Hello, welcome to July 17th, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is an exercise that I do each and every day, just after waking up. It's now 4:41 a.m. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any challenges or opportunities I met along the way. I think also about the coming day and prepare myself for the challenges and opportunities that I can foresee and ready myself for those that may catch me unawares. But first, let's read a poem from John Keats. We'll read two, actually. First, we'll reread the poem that was studied yesterday, and then we'll start a new poem today. Yesterday's poem was called Hence Burgundy, Claret, and Port, and there were several new words here that I didn't know that I had to look up. I discussed them in yesterday's video, but we'll just read the whole thing through, and sometimes a second time after giving it a rest for 24 hours helps the poem breathe a little bit, and its meaning comes a little clearer. It happens almost every time. Hence Burgundy, Claret, and Port. Away with old Hock and Madeira. To Couthie ye are for my sport. There's a beverage brighter and clearer. Instead of a pitiful rummer, my wine overbrims a whole summer. My bowl is the sky, and I drink at my eye, till I feel in the brain a Delphian pain. Then follow, my Caius, then follow. On the green of the hill we will drink our fill of golden sunshine, till our brains intertwine with the glory and grace of Apollo. Smack dab, just as I expected. I mean, give it 24 hours to breathe, like the wine, resting, and give it a little time and then take a sip, and wow, the flavors come through. I see this so much better. Never mind the wine. Give me the hilltop to stand upon and to drink in the sights that I will then use for my inspiration. Wow, what a beautiful poem. Okay, today's poem is titled God of the Meridian. Now there's a few words here that I had to look up, 3. I actually knew 4, actually. I actually knew all of these words. I just had to look them up to make sure I understood their meaning. Sometimes there's an archaic meaning to words that are familiar to us now, that I look them up and they have literally what's called an archaic meaning, a meaning from the past. Remember, these poems are over 200, this work is over 200 years old. And then, it makes sense with the archaic meaning. It may not make sense with the modern meaning. But all of these words pretty much made sense as I thought they would, but I needed to double check. The first is the word meridian. This is actually a word that actually had a more poetical meaning. Meridian, of course, is the lines of longitude along the earth that divide east to west, right? In this case, meridian has more meanings than that, actually. There's a celestial meaning as well. But in this case, it's being used to describe the dividing line between the earthly realm and heaven. And of course, there's a lot of religious overtones in these poems. So imagine the line between mortality and immortality, kind of that meridian. The next word is austere, meaning simple, strict, plain in appearance. And that's the meaning that typically it has in a modern sense. Another word is lyre, the musical instrument of the ancient Roman, Greeks, and the ancient world in general. And then the word staid, which is a serious, steady, and unadventurous. So let's go ahead and read the poem through. It's called God of the Meridian. And as usual, so many of Keats' poems, the first line of the poem is the title. God of the meridian, and of the east and west, to thee my soul is flown, and my body is earthward pressed. So to thee, God, when I die, my soul flies up to you, to the meridian, past the meridian, and then my body goes into the earth, right? It is an awful mission, a terrible division, and leaves a gulf austere. Imagine that, the space between the soul's flight and the earth and the body's decay and remain, right? To be filled with worldly fear, filling the vacancy between the two. Aye, when the soul is fled to high above our head, affrighted do we gaze after its airy maze. As doth a mother wild when her young infant child is in an eagle's claws. I'm picturing like a mountain goat mother with its infant, would be a kid if it's a goat, small baby kid, being grasped by a big eagle and carried away. So too, like, are we thinking about our soul flying away? And is not this the cause of madness? God of song, thou bearest me along through sights I scarce can bear. Oh, let me share with the hot lyre and thee the staid philosophy. Temper my lonely hours, and let me see thy bowers more unalarmed. So give me, God, in the time that I've got, the poetry and the serious philosophy, and be unaffrighted and unafraid in the time that I have remaining. What a heavy, heavy, beautiful poem, reflective of the fears of the religious. Someone who believes that there's an afterlife and thinks they have a soul, and may be affrighted of what may follow after death. I really like that one. I like both of them. I'll read it again tomorrow. All right, with that, let's begin. Yesterday and last night. Slept well last night. Better than I thought. Although I did wake up kind of groggy-headed. I had a cup of coffee. That helped. Last night I slept well. Yesterday was a fun day. Oh my gosh. I literally, between walks with my wife, I literally just read all day. I sat here practically in this chair and read the old story that I'm reading. It was a tough one. Oh, goodness. I'm getting stuck. Talk about a tough read. It's called Paul Clifford. You see all the page here, all the pink? Those are all new vocabulary. Story, and it's dense reading, chock full of new words. Look at all these new words that I had to look up. So it's really tough reading to have to get along and try to read all this stuff and look up all these words and et cetera, et cetera. So it was a full day. My brain was squeezed in the best way since and filled with all kinds of good stuff by the end of the day. I really enjoyed the day. Yumiko commented that, good practice for the coming days of retirement. Why not? Any challenges or opportunities yesterday? Not particular. Nothing I can think of. Pardon me. Let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. Excuse me. 1, to be always ready to die. 2, to make good and effective use of my time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5, to perform good actions. 6, to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. And 7, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. These are the 7 things that I'm striving for each day. This is how I want to live. Now, to get there, to enact and facilitate such a life, I have 34 principles as follows. And these are all outlined, the principles and objectives, in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter called The Good Life. I call this the Good Life Creed, a nod to the Stoics. The 34 principles are war, reason, homunculus, Anchorhold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, principle of nature, principle of maturity, the pirate ride, the social principle, the principle of family, public speaking, temperance. Life will not go well. The horror show, that which must be borne. The feast of offal, distraction, agency, and the great indifference. The best seat in the house. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk, sin and damnation, complete oblivion. The season of philosophy, script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility. Did I get the season of philosophy? I think I did. Nothing is enough. And finally, the principle of fun. Felt like I got them all. Felt like I got them mostly in the right order too. Good enough. Okay, now the plan for today. It's a Monday, and I've got just a few meetings, my usual Monday meetings. And I've got some tasks that I want to do. I'm rounding out, coming to the end of the big project that I was hired for. Got about another month of that left, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. And I've got a project closure meeting coming up. So I've got to begin developing the content for that, the presentation, and everything we're going to go over. So I'll begin working on that today. That's something. That's one of my favorite things to do as a project manager, is to do our retrospective and our project closure, and then begin to ramp up for the next phase. Maybe the last phase of my career. Can't foresee anything necessarily that's a challenge or opportunity for today. And I think I'm ready for the unexpected. I have my temperance. I have my apathy. I have my more deliberate thoughts. Yeah, it's good to get old. Now, last thing I do is I ask myself, am I ready to die today? Am I ready to be dead? Am I ready to molder away as a corpse? Or, well, I don't believe I have a soul. But as Keats did say, to I, when my soul is fled, to high above our head, affrighted do we gaze after its airy maze. No, I'm not worried about that, because I don't think I have a soul to fly anywhere. So all what is in store for me is oblivion, complete oblivion. Nothing, gone forever. Yesterday at the beach, I saw the news in the evening. Someone disappeared under the waves. Right at lifeguard tower 18, where I swim. And they had the helicopters out looking for that person last night. No, I don't think they found him. Imagine that, tumbling under the waves, maybe at this moment. No, I'm not going to capitalize on that tragedy for my own petty philosophical musings, but, the point being ready. I'll leave it at that. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And now my life is done, if not finished. See ya.